So a few days ago over on my Odyssey channel, I got asked a question here from Johnny Parker. It's in relation to a video of mine that he was watching concerning viruses on Mac, Windows, and Linux. All of them are susceptible to viruses, or malware, should we rather say. So he goes on and he asks me here, what about downloading stuff from SourceForge for Linux? That is trusted just like GitLab, etc., isn't it? As the source code is available for those who can understand it. So I responded to him, yes, if all the source code is visible and if you actually check it to ensure there are no bad shenanigans in the code, then it should be safe. The key being check the source code first. If you do not understand the code, then you will likely still be reasonably safe since the code is public, but still. Now, it's that but still that I'm going to be addressing a little bit today. So if we come over here to the GitHub repository for the Linux kernel, let's say, for instance, you wanted to get the latest code for whatever reason. You can come over here, click on code, and you can clone it onto your computer. And if you build it and execute it, well, this is what we're going to look at. So if we come here, for instance, like I said, look at the code. So we're on the kernel here. We go to FS here. I assume that's for file system. Yep, all right. And let's click on BTRFS here. And just click on some C file. There's compression, all right. And so we go through this and do our due diligence. We check the code, and let's say we understand C, and this all makes sense. And so that's good. So we think, oh, we can trust this. Yeah, we can trust this one file. The kernel is, with all its drivers and stuff, is millions and millions of lines of code. You cannot check all that code before you get it. So that's one thing to bear in mind, is the amount of code. It just makes it impossible. The other thing is, let's say, for instance, in my case here, I'm writing an open source project here, CryoZerk, for data encryption, and it's also available, the source code is available on GitLab, instead of GitHub, I'm on GitLab, and so you come here to this page where you can clone it as well. But the thing is, like I said, you should look at the code. And so you come here and you say, okay, well, let's click on libcryozerk streams. This is Rust coders, by the way. And let's say we click on one of the files. And we can look at the code. So we haven't downloaded anything yet. We're just looking physically at the code itself. And all right, so we think this is good. But here again, this project is about 7,000 lines of code. That's a lot of code to go through to make sure that things are okay. It's very easy in a large code base to hide a small amount of code that is nefarious. This reminds me of many years ago. I worked at a company where one of the developers we felt was not pulling their weight, and I thought I'll do a little experiment to see what exactly they are doing during the day. And this developer was working on a C# project, so therefore they had the .NET framework installed on their computer. And so what I did is I wrote a quick keylogger in C# and made an executable of it, stuck it onto a server by a company, and then I went into the project that this person was working on. And in the beginning, where the program starts up, when you start executing it or debugging it, what it would do is it will execute some code that would download this keylogger and kick the keylogger off, and it'll start running and just log what this person is doing. And then at the end of the day, what I did is I went and I changed that code, and I made that code remove the keylogger again, and I and checked it in. And so when they check it out, they will remove the keylogger from their own system again. Well, to make a long story short, at the end of the day, we found no logging was done. The reason was this person never checked out the project, never built it, never started working on it. So now that it's slightly nefarious, maybe it being a keylogger, but things can get really bad. I mean, somebody could hide something really terrible inside just a few lines of code. They just have to, the main payload might be on a server somewhere in the world, and they add this code into the code that you just downloaded. Just a few lines in there that downloads from the server some program, and then it runs it. So you might think, oh, well, there'll be 1,000 lines of code for this nefarious code being hidden in my code. Not necessarily. It could just be 5 lines of code. You can't always go through all the lines of code. So you've got to trust the person. Large companies you can trust. The Linux kernel, you can trust it. There has been some people trying shenanigans with it, but you can trust it. many other projects you can trust. But these small projects, just be careful. Just be careful. See you next time, guys. Bye.